Hello, y'all. This is Guab, and I'm about to start another Dominions game. Just finished one up as Oceania, where we all agreed Yomi won in 40 turns because they were just dominating everyone. But they were played by Arco, so kind of expected. Though I did win my 1v1 versus Relay, so yay, go me. Anyway, so I'm about to start another game of Dominions, and I'm gonna be playing as Ulm. And I've played actually 2 games of Ulm already in Dominion 6 multiplayer, and I guess it's not too much of a surprise. Ulm is kind of my favorite nation, and so I played a Evo Ulm, and I uploaded a video about that. That game went pretty well. Won my first war, lost my second, so it's kind of whatever. I made some strategic poor decisions, but it was fun because I had a Lich and I was teleporting it around to do high evo spells like Winds of Death and stuff. And then I've also tried a Thug Ulm where like when Enchanted Blood, a bunch of heroism and other stuff like that, and so that was also really fun. But I've done a lot of thinking and I've done some playtesting and other stuff like that, and what this time I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be playing Enchantment Ulm. So I'm going to be running up enchantment specifically to enchantment 6. And so alteration is kind of the standard. It provides a powerful AoE spells like Maws of Earth. It provides skins, buffs, etc. And it also provides some nice single target survivability for thugging. And since historically Ulm wants both of these things because they have efficient thugs and they have great troops, alteration has really been the thing to go for. However, the single target buffs, mostly like the skins, have been nerfed, and thug items have been pushed back from Construction 2 to Construction 3, and also they're worse than they were previously. It makes less sense to go for alteration for early thugging or for early buffing. And so this leaves us as an interesting crossroads, because quite a few things have been buffed for Ulm. Antler shamans are way better than they used to be because we get a 100% chance of random path. Warrior shaman are now sacred, so we can use them for thugging better. And then we're also kind of in a place where thugging is worse, and we have more gold for more troops, which is like also kind of nice, but like kind of invalidates our thugging buffs and our production buffs. I'm sorry, in our forge bonuses. So that's why I'm proposing to swap to enchantment. And so in addition to I should also say though, alteration does have misform now, which is nice, but we are only going to have so many air 2 casters, and we're only going to have so many air 1s, much less air 2s. So let me read through my notes here. Okay, yeah, so basically, alteration, in my opinion, is not impactful in your first war, especially not to the level that it used to be. Maw of the Earth and, Maws of Earth and Destruction are both still really good spells, depending on whoever you're fighting against. And, don't get me wrong, Iron Skin is still great, but, like, you used to be able to slap together some really cheap thugs early on into the game, or get out wooden warriors and stuff really really early on, and so just like everything being pushed back in alteration makes it a lot less effective and efficient. So I posit that we can go something else, something that helps with buffing our excellent troops, something that allows us to thug in a pinch, something that allows us to take advantage of our national summons, and something that allows us to scale into a phenomenal mid-game. Yes, that is right. I'm talking about enchantment. So let me pull over, the spell list. Oh, shoot. I did this on my bigger screen, and I'm on my smaller screen. So let me just zoom out a little bit. And so I will kind of talk about all the reasons that we should go enchantment. So first of all, I said it allows us to use our national spell, and reanimation isn't actually a national spell, but we still get Great Long Dead. Having some of your mages cast reanimation early is actually really nice for filling out your lines, and it also is, like with the present prevalence of fear and awe and other things like that, long dead can be very valuable. And our long dead have armor and broadswords and other stuff like that make them pretty valuable. So these are sorted into 4 categories. These are our enchantment 6 power spikes, which I'll get into the last bit. These are the AoE buffs. These are the thug buffs, and these are the summons that are useful for us. Reanimation was not buffed, but Claymen and Terracotta Warriors were both buffed, and the cubes are always good. And we can buff up the cubes pretty well because we can cast, flight and other stuff on them. And so all of these 4 summon spells are really useful, and they're ways for us to use our gems efficiently early on. And we won't get too many water gems, but we'll have a decent number of fire and a decent number of death gems. And so these allow us to turn our early gems into power. And we will be able to cast these early on to the game and be able to use these to fill out our lines early on. Some people won't necessarily think that they're super impressive, but these are, they're better than our base troops, and we get 15 of them for 9 gems. And so maybe you could make the argument that you should be alchemizing these or whatever, but I think Terracotta Army is pretty good use of the gems, and they have blunt and slash resistant, and they're just pretty good overall, and they have Spirit Sight, so that can help counter some other things. These are all the personal buffs. There's been quite a few actually changes to enchantment to make them better for personal buffing, and so Weapons of Sharpness has actually been added, moved from construction to enchantment, which I think is actually kind of dog shit. There's even less reason to go up construction early on now, but at Enchantment 5, we can buff a small group of thugs with AoE 1 with Weapons of Sharpness. Just increases their effectiveness a lot, especially combined with Earth Shatter Hammers, which makes blunt and slash weapons have a chance to stun on hit. So this is going to make our thugs really efficient. They can also, cast Personal Flight if we have air thugs, Fire Shield if we have fire thugs, and then Flying Shield if we also have more air thugs. So all those are great spells. Personally, I recommend Flying thugs, so then we can get into the back line, and then we can also do Shroud of Flying Shards, which just does some extra damage. And so Earth Shatter Hammers, Weapons of Sharpness combined actually make our thugs, if we're going down enchantment, quite a bit better than they would have been in Dom 5. And the thing is these are really easy spells for us to cast, because we can cast Earth Power and then Earth Shatter Hammers, Weapons of Sharpness, and we're going to have groups of 3. And so one thug can cast this, one can cast this, and then one can cast another AoE 1. We could gem into Mist Form or something like that. Boom, now we have really efficient raiding groups. Personal Flight is great. Personal Regeneration is also great, but that's a kind of standard one. And we would have to be using our Cap Mages really if we're going to thug with Personal Regeneration, and so it's not that useful for us. But Cloud Trapeze also super useful. Our Air 2s are super valuable for counter raiding, and so we will likely get Air 2s, and we will likely empower into Air 2s if we don't, because it's hard to spend air gems. But yeah, so pretty valuable. These are all good for summons, and it just lines up pretty naturally because we get valuable things at each enchantment. And now you might be looking at these AoE buffs, and you might be like, well, Serpent Fang Arrows and Flaming Arrows are both, and Fireflight, sorry, are all, they're all arrow buffs. What, you're playing Ulm, what why the fuck are you buffing arrows? I would say that we actually have some of the best access to arrow buffs out of all early age nations. And so we have, these are basically the 4 buffs you can do, until you get later on, and you can do, there's Greater Farflight that extends the range. No, there's There are farther down air buffs, but these are actually really easy for us to do. With Farfly arrows being the hardest because air 2s are not guaranteed. But we can cast flaming arrows with a F1 because you can have him gem into Phoenix Pyre and then double gem into flaming arrows. Really easy for us to cast Serpent Fling arrows. We're going to have a ton of N2s running around, and then he can double gem, and then Giant Strength Warriors are super easy. And so, like, we have all these buffs that are going to go together pretty well. We also have actually really decent shield troops in Shield Maidens. And so, like, our archers are not bad as well. They're doing 11 damage. Like, this is, and after we do Giant Strength on them, it's now half. Yeah, so then they'll be doing 13. So, like, our opponents are not going to expect us to be casting, you know, all these spells on them. They're not going to expect us to be using a ton of archers. They're not going to expect fire and poison damage and everything else to rain down on their heads. But you really can do a lot of damage on your opponents, especially if they don't set up their mage line to be in the rear. Like if it's just interspersed with their troops, then you know we can get like a lot of snipes and stuff down. I have played this against AI, and you know, like you can be like, oh yeah, it's AI, and it is AI, but like it is surprisingly effective for dealing with like more elite troops, just because you have a lot of troops to hold them there, and then you just pound them with arrows, and you get poisoned, which debuffs them, and flaming arrows negates a lot of the stuff. You know, like, there's a lot less magic weapons running around, so flaming arrows is great. And then this will also work really well with some of the other strategies that I'm going to talk about in Enchantment. So, like, these 4 that go online on Enchantment 5 work really well together, allow us to use our mages pretty usefully. And so, yeah, I like it. Earthquake Warriors comes on a little bit later. Oh yeah, this is Enchantment 6, but it's super useful. It's a 20 AoE blunt and slash stun on hit. Hey, guess what? We have double attacking. We can get 6 attacks that can potentially stun on hit, though they can pierce, and piercing attacks do not stun. But phenomenal spell for our troops. It works, even though size can negate and strength can negate, it works well against elites because your attack density is so high on them, and it works well against weak people because they're not going to negate it. It's just, Earthquake Warriors is a phenomenal spell. It is a new spell, and it's one of the strongest early game buffs. Like, yeah, there's no spell, I don't think, at Alteration 6 that matches Earthquake Warriors in buffing power. So this is, in fact, yeah, I'd probably say Earthquake Warriors is probably the strongest buffing spell in the game right now. And it's perfect for us to cast. So that's great. Spell Ward and Enchantment 4, we have a, magic resistance issue. We don't necessarily have a magic, a Astral 2 running around. If we're lucky, we can get our hero, and then this will be a great spell. It's an important spell if we can cast it, and if we can't cast it, we want to be able to, we can cast it as long as we get an Astral 1. So even if we just find some Lizard Shaman, we can do it. And so if we can cast it, then it's very valuable. If we can't, well, then it's kind of unfortunate. Levitate Soldiers, not that useful. I thought this was a different spell. I think it reduces fatigue from armor, so maybe it works well with our fatigue plays and other stuff that we can do. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I thought this was a different spell. And then lastly, we have Group Regeneration. It's 60 fatigue, and it's N3. We'll get some native N3s, so we can cast this at N4 before like items, and then it's only 30 fatigue. And then, the AoE is even bigger. It is a great spell. The fatigue might be a little bit high. And especially with how big armies are and how unlikely it is for us to get N4s, N3s natively, it kind of feels like wasted effort. But even just having like 4 mages that are like in front of your troops, and they cast Strength of Gaia, and then they cast Group Regeneration twice, and then they fatigue out. That still is valuable in my mind because, hey, you're getting, AoE is 3. You're getting. So you do 4. So you're getting like 12 times 4. So you'll get like 48 times 2. So yeah, you could, at best case scenario, you could get like around 100 troops. You're really unlikely to actually get that effective. But like with 4 mages, you get 100 troops. And having group regeneration on your troops is a real game changer. Though, especially if you are doing fatigue plays, which I will advocate for in just a second. But without protection buffs or other stuff, it's less valuable, but it is like really nice to have on hand. So yeah, there's that. And then the last AoE buff that I really want to talk about is Hail Serpent Fang arrows. It just does the entire battlefield, as opposed to Serpent Fang arrows, which just does 20. So hey, we have that at a higher level enchantment. And cool. And so oh, Fairy Trod should not have been up here. Okay, no, never mind, we're fine. So, so once you get Enchantment 5, like, I do think that it actually gives you, Enchantment 5 gives you the most combat power of reaching any 5, except maybe Conjuration, because then you can spam out Elementals, but that's not, like, super efficient, and it's also worse than it was. And we have such good troops that the multiplier of, buffing our troops is really nice. Anyway, once we reach Enchantment, 5, then we also get access to, hey, the resources from beneath to boost our income and our production, and Eternal Pyre, and then like Enchantment 7, you get Stellar Focus, and also the Earthblood Deepwell. So like our mid game, if we control those gem gens and income gems, gem gens and income gems, is going to be phenomenal. I would advocate strongly for taking God that enables you to cast Eternal Pyre and Riches from Beneath basically as soon as you hit Enchantment 6. I have done it as early as turn 16, though I traded for people for the gems. It is really like a boost to the system, and then once you do that, then you can turn those gems into like Terracotta Warriors or other stuff like that, and kind of go a little bit crazy, and that's really nice. And then also, I mentioned doing fatigue plays earlier, and basically all of Enchantment is set up to do fatigue plays, especially for nations like Ulm, and I will explain that. So a Grip of Winter is a very nice spell, and it is great for fatigue play, but that one we can't really do because we'll end up with some N2, Water 2s, but like there's no real way to get this until we get Construction 5 and build Robes of the Sea, which are pretty expensive. But we can do Heat from Hell, Relief, Rigor Mortis, and then once we get Alt 4, I think we can do Rain of Stones as well. And I'm sure you guys all know what these spells are, so I don't super need to go over them. But they just do fatigue damage, or actual fire damage. And relief just relieves your guys' fatigue. But guess what? Fatigue plays actually synergize really well with doing archer plays. And the reason is that archer plays do not add your encumbrance whenever you fire the bow. And so oftentimes you will see archers being the only units still doing stuff. Especially in like Dom 5, you got like a double Rigor Mortis. Mages are asleep, soldiers are asleep, but archers are still plinking away. And so it really synergizes well with that. Regeneration really synergizes well with these because no one else is doing anything. And all of our mages are sacred, so we can actually just take Reinvigoration, and then our mages can still keep doing stuff. And all these spells are really easy for us to cast. We can cast Heat from Hell with... I think, can you do it? You can't do it with a fire one. You can do it with a fire 2. Yeah, you can easily do it with a fire 2. And we're going to have a lot of fire 2s running around because that's our second most common random after Earth 2. And Relief is also really easy for us to cast. And Rigor Mortis is going to be hard for us to cast, but we will have some death 3s. We might have to make boosters and stuff. But like, people are not going to be ready for Ulm to be dropping fatigue plays on them and then dropping a bunch of arrows on your opponent's heads. Especially once you add like Maws of Earth and Rain of Stones, which are both alteration spells, to be fair. But once you add those 2 spells, then your fatigue plays become really, really good. And so then you might be like, well, if you're counting on all this research, you know, like, and you want to be able to cast like gem gens and stuff like early on, then you need to take like a God Dormant. Like, how are you going to afford to pay for all this? And like, what is your God going to kind of look like? Oh yeah, and I'll also just show like Ulm's archers are decent. You know, they're low resources, high recruitment, but like, you know, this is better than default archer because they have higher, they have snow move and mountain survival, and forest survival. So they can often move 2 provinces. Map move 16. Actually, wait, map move 16. That's actually really good. Huh. Too bad if these were stealthy, I might actually use them more. Okay, there are only map move 16 guy. That is interesting. 16, 14. Okay. You could lead someone around with an antlered shaman and then just do some interesting plays. I never noticed that map move difference. Okay. Yeah, so let's look at basically what I'm advocating for and going to run as my pretender. So I'm going to run the Rickamar, the Tiwaz of War. And so I'll say what I'm thinking here. So basically, as Fire 6, Earth 6, he can easily cast both the Fire Gem Gen, Earth Gem Gen. With Air 4, he can easily cast Summon Draconians, which is a very valuable spell. Also, you can Cloud Trapeze around. And he synergizes really well with Revig 4 because he is a combat caster, and so he can just wade in and do everything else really well. As Ulm, we can build up our productivity with Warrior Smiths, and I often find that I am very short on orders, so that's why I'm going Order 2, Productivity 0. It's unfortunate that we're going Growth 0, but it is what it is, and Magic 2 is kind of necessary. But he comes out Dormant. He can really help in your first war, and I could have taken like an Imprisoned Rainbow or something like that, but I wanted something a little bit more aggressive. I'm not sure how many of you guys play like RTSs or stuff like that, but what we're going here for is like a timing attack. We want to hit Enchantment 6. Like Enchantment 5 gives us all of our archer stuff, and Enchantment 6 gives us our fatigue stuff. And so like, we want to be as strong as possible for our first war and crush it, and then enter mid-game basically as a behemoth that has insane magic phase, insane gem gen, and then just like run over the game. Because Ulm still has an inherent problem in late game, but we have really good troops. We can actually out-research everyone else because we have foreign recruit researchers. We can also foreign recruit our troops. So we don't really need to make forts. And so, like, we can just step on the gas. And that is what we need to do. So, yeah. General strategy is expand with... it's still... Oh, yeah. And I should say that with this, we are not going to be building our Sacred. Because this is definitely Mage Bless. And the fire and shock resistance are just useful because now we will be cold, fire, and shock resistance, which is just nice. Yeah, mid, yay, Ulm. Yeah, so just general strategy for expansion is just Steel Maidens, kind of standard. For first wave of expansion, though, you're going to use Shield Maidens and Archers. Just because Shield Maidens synergize better with our archers, and it's the difference of recruitment points. Yeah, and you just expand normally. When you have the funds, you don't start forts, you just build labs and temples, and start recruiting your shaman, and also you foreign recruit your warriors, or axe warriors, depending on what you're doing, but I like warriors a little bit better. you foreign recruit your warriors wherever possible. Nap 2 neighbors, nap 3 neighbors, and you just go ham on the last one, and you should have a major numbers advantage because you've been foreign recruiting a bunch of troops and have not been wasting money on forts. And yeah, I mean, like, that's kind of just the way it goes. And dominate first war, and then depending on how your war's going, you might need to deploy some of your shamans. You might not need to. But once you hit enchantment 6, then start your second war, and make sure you forward deploy your shamans and, bring archers and, do your fatigue plays and everything else. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with this idea. I mean, I'm probably going to go, conch 3, const 1. I'll probably still get ult 3, and the reason for that is so then I can cloud trapeze around my god and make him more effective. And then I'll just run enchantment all the way to enchantment 6. And then I'll probably go like ult 4, and then I might go enchantment 7. And then reason I would go enchantment 7 is like for mass flight and other stuff, which are going to be hard for me to cast, but my god can definitely cast them. Other considerations are I could get, if I have a lot of air income, I could get conch 5 somewhat early, so then my god can cast Summon Draconians earlier. But I really do want to just get enchantment 6 as fast as humanly possible. And some of you guys might be like, oh, well, are you going to upload this? And the answer is yes, actually. I think my problem with my previous one is I would save all my turns and I would record them, and then I would just I'm just going to do a block of like 5 turns together. And then I lacked motivation to do 5 turns together. And to do, turns like 12 turns ago and stuff like that, there's just not enough context for me. People don't know what my Discord is, unlike people like Lucid and Arco and stuff like that. And people don't, and Kirby, and people don't know, like, my YouTube channel. Like, I'm going to be honest, I'm a tiny, infinitesimal creator out there. So I am just going to upload turns as I do them. And I'm going to hope that it doesn't fuck me over. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be fine, though. Because... and if I'm not fine, well, I will pay for my hubris, which is fine. So, yeah, I'm intending to upload this. I might skip, like, the first turns of expansion. But, what is will be. Yeah, anyway. Thank you guys for listening. Please smash that subscribe button. I have my script written for the KLM video. And I actually recorded it for EA KLM. I just didn't like it. So I'm probably going to do that again. But anyway, yeah, thank you for listening, and see you later. Bye.